this idea of the best player on the best team, typically that has been A'ja Wilson in her MVP years. And this is interesting because it does give a window, a door that Olivia Miles could potentially step into to make history as the only since 2008 to be an MVP and a Rookie of the Year in the same year. So now I want to kind of add on to what you're saying when you say that Olivia Miles, if she continues at this statistical pace and leading this Minnesota Lynx the way that she does, I'm curious about what that's going to look like because Napheesa Collier does have to come back. Hello, everyone, and welcome to No Offseason. I'm Zena Cada.
And I'm Sabreena Merchant.
Hoop savant, Sabreena Merchant, that is. And today on the show, we are about to hit the halfway point of the WNBA season, and we've got enough basketball behind us to start thinking about awards. We're making our midseason picks from MVP to Coach of the Year, Sixth Player of the Year, and even a fun award you won't find on the official ballot. But first, we got some news to hit on from around the world of women's hoops, going to the college space to start us out. There's a proposal on the table that could reshape the NCAA women's basketball tournament next season, and it all comes down to how the top 16 teams are seeded. If you've ever looked at the bracket and wondered, how did that team end up there? Yeah, I'm raising my hand because literally, we do bracketology every year on this pod, and I still have not figured this out. So don't worry, you're not alone. Or maybe you question why the geography seems to play such a big role in evaluating a team's resume. You're not alone, okay? The NCAA is considering a move to seed the top 16 teams strictly by their true rankings instead of making adjustments based on travel or regional placement. Oh, Sabreena, this is interesting. What exactly would this new seeding look like? And would it result in Texas and South Carolina playing each other at the end of in the Elite Eight, right? Like, how would this work out? How would it be different from the way that the bracket is put together now?
Okay, so currently the way the bracket works is they have their S-curve of the top 16 teams is what we usually see during the preceding reveals, and then they have their 64 teams or 68 when it gets to full bracket. I guess it'll be 76 next year, actually. So however many teams end up being on the bracket, there's the curve of all of them in order. And there's a lot of seeding rules that try to prevent teams from the same conference meeting as early as possible in the tournament. And the reason for that is because you already see them playing during the regular seasons, so you want to separate them during the NCAA tournament as long as possible. And that has become increasingly challenging with these mega conferences, right? Like, it's very hard to separate all of the SEC teams when there are 1,000 teams in the conference and 11 of them make the tournament, right? The 1,000 is an over-exaggeration. The 11, not so much. So this new rule, what it does is, in theory, you could just have every team seated exactly where they're supposed to instead of trying to account for geography and not meeting up with another team from the same conference. So, like, for example, you think about Vanderbilt this past year, and Vanderbilt was in the conversation for a 1 seed up until the final week of the season in the SEC tournament. They lose a very bad game in the SEC tournament. They fall to the number 2 line behind South Carolina and Texas. And now, because they're on the number 2 line, they can't be the number 2 seed with Texas or South Carolina because of these conference seeding rules. So they get put as the number 2 seed in the UConn bracket. And that is theoretically the hardest number 2 seed, even though they weren't the worst number 2 seed. So this new rule would make it more equitable for Vanderbilt in that they could play the worst, number 1 seed if they were the best number 2 seed, even if that happens to be a team from their conference.
Wow. It does feel like it's more fair, and it makes more, I wouldn't say logistical sense, but it makes more sense just based off what we've seen in terms of a product for a team's resume over the course of the year. But, I kind of botched my example in leading this up, but, thinking about how many times Texas and South Carolina played last year, for example, right? This is a matchup that we could potentially see earlier in this situation. Is that what you're saying?
I think that's not exactly the case. I mean, I suppose the way the seeding works is you could see these teams be in the second round if it's just by seeding and not by any conference designation. So yeah, it's totally possible that you could see even a first round matchup between 2 SEC teams or 2 Big Ten teams or, whatever mega conference you want to insert here. Again, we don't know all of the parameters of this particular rule change. The NCAA, as is its wont, likes to dole things out in little pieces. So yeah, I think earlier meetings are definitely possible. You mentioned earlier, like the travel part of it. I mean,
Like,
so much
yeah.
of the way the NCAA designs these brackets is like, okay, well, do we want to send, Cal all the way across the country to play in Durham in the first round of the tournament? Or is it possible that we keep them in a Spokane bracket or something, on the West Coast, just to make it a little bit easier, even if that means we fudge their seating a little bit?
Mm,
And that's really interesting. I think that's always been helpful for teams, right? Like you want to have a better fan base traveling to your games. You want to make it easier for the student athletes. I think athlete experience is not always prioritized now in these cases, right? It's all about whatever
yeah.
maximizes dollars and whatever maximizes
Revenue,
interest.
yeah.
And yeah, like it does kind of suck for Vanderbilt fans that they were the 2 seed, even though they didn't end up, getting to the Elite Eight anyway. Like they lost to Notre Dame. I didn't forget that. But um, yeah, I think just the fairness is something that people are always looking for in these situations, right? Like, you look at a bracket and you're like, oh, I can't believe we're seated behind them, yada, yada, yada. Like I remember Lindsay Gottlieb, like basically like pacing after her seating 2 years ago when they were a 1 seed, but the worst
Yeah,
1 seed,
yeah,
so it was,
yeah.
everybody has their feelings about these, decisions. And I think going by the principle of like fairness and resume makes a lot of sense. But I think there are always unintended consequences, right? And like, do
Right.
you want a first round with 3 rematches right away? Like, I don't know if everybody wants that.
Right. Yeah, now I'm just thinking about how quickly people can see some of the same matchups that they may have seen in the conference tournament. I mean, you think about um, Clemson, for example, was an 8 seed last year, and Syracuse was a 9 seed last year. But per the way you were talking about the things that they've done to ensure that conference teams aren't meeting up early, they split them up and put them in two different two different brackets. But in this circumstance, you may see that. You may very well see that as soon as you go back into the tournament, right after you finish your conference tournament. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily know if that's a good thing or not, right? Like
Yeah.
rivalry's always fun, right? Teams playing each other multiple times, but as you mentioned earlier, the Texas South Carolina of it all, like I don't need to see these teams play each other 4 times during the season, right? Especially if you just saw it in a previous week or something. So, like I said, there's always these unintended consequences. You're trying to make things fair. You inadvertently create other, effects that may not make the tournament as enjoyable or whatever in the first rounds. Of course, like the first rounds are going to look very different because of the massive play-in round now with these extra teams. So it's
Mm,
possible none of this even ends up mattering. But yeah, I think broadly I like the idea of just seating everyone, by their resume and not worrying about location. Like, I mean, is it really worth it to an East Coast school to be in the, let's say, Birmingham regional versus a West Coast regional? Um, if that means you have to play a more difficult team at the end of that road,
right.
I'm not sure. So, uh, again, we don't really know like who was consulted on these decision makings, like what committee made these decisions, but just something to keep in mind as we're talking about the bracket and all that once college basketball season kicks off, which is honestly going to happen a lot sooner than I think either of us are ready for.
I know, I know, I know. Very curious what those post-game pressers are going to sound like from coaches and what they talk about with their dobos, their director of basketball operations have had to do to schedule things up. Okay, so let's shift gears to the WNBA. And I'm sure if you've looked at your calendar lately, if you're someone like me, you've got every single game on your calendar, you've probably woken up recently and been like, what the heck? Why is there my entire morning blocked off? Like, what's going on here? Why is this game tipping off in the middle of the afternoon? Or if you're on the West Coast, like I said, why am I watching basketball with my morning coffee? You are not alone, okay? A lot of folks have been wondering why so many WNBA teams are tipping off earlier in the day this season. So, Sabreena, please explain what is behind this scheduling trend.
Yeah, so this is sort of an annual thing in the WNBA, and if you're newer to the league, this is not a thing that happens really in other basketball leagues, so the confusion is totally understandable. This is a thing the WNBA does called Camp Day, where they
Yeah,
invite kids who are at summer camps to come watch a WNBA game during the day, and that's why the game has to be scheduled during daylight hours because that is when kids are in camp. And so
that's so
you'll see
cute.
situations like the Connecticut Sun tipping a game off at 11 a.m. local time, or on Wednesday, the Chicago Sky had another 11 a.m. game. The Minnesota Lynx had a 12 p.m. game. 12 noon, because PM, AM always confuses me with 12. So yeah, that's why, you'll see these games happen at times that you normally wouldn't consider with pro sports, especially pro basketball, happening during the middle of the week. But it's so that they can bring the kids in. And as somebody who attended a camp day game, they're super fun. They're incredibly loud, first of all. It's a great atmosphere because these kids are just screaming the whole way through. And the players always talk about how meaningful it is to be able to put on this showcase for a different segment of the fan base, right? It's hard for families sometimes to buy tickets to get their whole family to a game. And so if little kids have this opportunity to, show up with their friends and watch a league they may not have been exposed to before, it's just it's a great outreach opportunity for the league. It's a great opportunity for the fans. I know Cheryl Reeve was talking about it before the Minnesota Lynx game versus the Sparks on Wednesday, where Lindsay Whalen specifically told the team, this is a camp game. We need to show up and perform for the kids who are watching us because they will remember this longer than you could possibly imagine.
Yes.
So I think it's just an awesome thing that the league does. And yeah, if that means that you're on Pacific time and you're waking up at 8 a.m. to watch a Connecticut Portland Fire game, suck it up one day.
On a Monday as well, by the way.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that was crazy. But no, I love this. I love the premise behind it. It is a really smart business move as well. You're basically prepping the next generation and exposing them. And then these little kids go home and they get so excited, they tell their parents, and that potentially could lead to some season tickets next year. Who knows? But no, it's a great connective point. As you mentioned, some of these folks can't get to the games in other ways. And so just being able to have that atmosphere for those kids and them caring so much about it. The players stay every game so much longer than they need to sign autographs and just be in the midst with the kids. So it's very, very special. So sorry for your schedules, but it's for the kids, y'all. It's for the kids. All right. We are officially at the midway point of the WNBA season, which means it's a perfect time to hand out some mid-season awards. No trophies just yet, just a lot of opinions from us. Stay tuned. All right, y'all, it's time for the Midseason Awards. Let's kick things off with one that, I think people care about a lot, MVP. Now, over the past few seasons, A'ja Wilson has set such an incredible standard that her name automatically enters the conversation every time we talk about the league's best player. But the MVP race every year, rides its own wave, has its own story. We have some ups and downs. Remember last year? A'ja Wilson, having an MVP season, gets injured, has the head injury, the concussion situation, was out for a few games. There was same thing with Nafisa Collier. She goes down with an injury, and it was just up and down, up and down. Folks saying maybe Fee would have won it if she would have played all season, or maybe it was too obvious that A'ja Wilson, regardless, especially with the way that the Aces ended everything, gets the MVP. But there were some names in there that wanted to inch their way in. Now, right now, I ain't gonna lie. It feels very similar to last year. A'ja's making the case for another MVP to add to her cupboard of trophies. But, Sabreena, I want to ask, where do you stand? Does it still belong to A'ja, the MVP title, or has someone else earned their top spot at the midway point?
So do you mean it resembles last year because there is another Minnesota Lynx player in the discussion with A'ja Wilson? Is that the similarity that you were talking about?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. You hit me. We're here. We're vibing. We're vibing. All right, break it down.
We've done this a couple times, yeah. Yeah, I think, Annie and I wrote the newsletter for Tuesday, and in it we both picked A'ja Wilson to be our midseason MVP. And I think that's totally justified. Whatever you think of how the Las Vegas Aces have been, they're still in the top 3 in the WNBA standings. I have expressed some concern with the volume of blowout losses that the Aces have suffered, but they still have won 17 games as of the time of this recording. And, they have a win over the Minnesota Lynx and Olivia Miles, who, theoretically would be the number one competition, or in my opinion, for this award. So that all counts. A'ja is averaging just obscene numbers again, as she does. What is it? Hang on. She's averaging 25.5 points, 9.8 yes. rebounds. Yeah, just shooting 40% on 3-pointers. It's a standard A'ja Wilson season, which is just crazy to think that those are numbers that she just gets out of bed and puts up, but she puts in the work and that's what shows up, So
right.
I think A'ja has to be the favorite, but I'm always of the belief that I really value the best player on the best team candidacy. Like, I think the point of most valuable player is you're supposed to provide value, and what is more valuable than winning? And if you're winning more games than everybody else, like, that should matter. And I realized the Minnesota Lynx, at the time of recording, only have one more win than the Las Vegas Aces, but they do have a net rating that is twice as good as the Aces. And they have done all of this without a certain Nafisa Collier. So I'm very compelled by Olivia Miles' candidacy because if you could believe it, even as a guard, she is shooting more efficiently from the field than A'ja Wilson is. She has had some incredible clutch performances. You know, we just saw one against the Phoenix Mercury on Monday night. The way she went at A'ja Wilson in that game in Las Vegas, ultimately a game that the Lynx lost, but like taking the ball on a drive twice at her, like in the final minutes of the game, was very impressive. Being a point guard is just such a high learning curve for a rookie, and I don't want to like make Liv's case stronger because she's a rookie, but I think like just being a point guard adds so much responsibility to her plate. Like, she has to set everybody else up. And you look at Nia Coffey having a career season, Natasha Howard having a bounce back season, Courtney Williams shooting the absolute leather off the ball. Like, everybody playing at their best, I think, is a reflection of the way Olivia Miles sets them up. And just like looking at the top candidates for MVP, like, she's the one with the best net rating of any player when they're on the court. And I realize that is determined a lot by like who your teammates are, what's happening. But if she is the best player on a team that is performing the best when she plays, I think that's just a very strong case. And I realize no player has won Rookie of the Year and MVP since 2008 with Candace Parker. And not to diminish anything Candace Parker did, but like, that was a weird MVP vote where fan voting was a part of it. And I know that contributed to Candace Parker winning that vote. So it is a very, very tall task to be Rookie of the Year and MVP. I don't think, again, if I were to vote today, I would vote for A'ja Wilson. But she has just done so much to elevate the Minnesota Lynx to be the best team in the WNBA. And if she continues like this statistical pace while leading Minnesota to the best record in the league, I mean, that's just a really, really good candidacy.
Yeah, okay. So this is interesting because I think you've laid out the case for A'ja very clearly. And A'ja is someone that the numbers don't lie, but the eye test matches up with the numbers, right?
Correct.
Sometimes you can look at the eye test and then you look at some of the deeper numbers and it's like, oh, that's actually, not doing as well as I thought.
Yeah.
Right? There's a little bit of off, but A'ja is someone that it always kind of aligns. But this idea of the best player on the best team, typically that has been A'ja Wilson in her MVP years. And this is interesting because it does give a window, a door that Olivia Miles could potentially step into to make history as the only since 2008 to be an MVP and a Rookie of the Year in the same year. So now I want to kind of add on to what you're saying when you say that Olivia Miles, if she continues at this statistical pace and leading this Minnesota Lynx the way that she does, I'm curious about what that's going to look like because Nafisa Collier does have to come back. Well, she doesn't have to. She'll
be coming back. Yeah,
she'll be
fully
back,
practicing,
right? Yeah. She's exactly. We've seen her on the court taking shots, moving around, etc. Pre-games, and she's in practice. So it's curious what it's going to look like when she comes back in terms of what that ball distribution looks like out on the floor, the opportunities that Olivia Miles has had to become this, I would like to use the word obscene playing rookie in terms of the ball playmaking she's making, the on-ball opportunities she's creating for herself. That all might change. It might shift. We don't know if it'll shift up, it'll shift down. We don't know. But what do you think will need to happen in order for Olivia Miles? What will it look like for Olivia Miles to keep at this, quote, statistical pace for her to edge out in A'ja Wilson?
Gotcha. I think, well, first and foremost, I think the Lynx have to have the best record in the WNBA. I think that is a huge part of Olivia's case is that, again, best team, they're going to have to beat the Aces at least once. And she's going to have an MVP type performance in that game. I realize singular games should not weigh that much, but like it does. I think about last season when Nafisa Collier came back and she had one final game against A'ja Wilson during that 16-game win streak to end the regular season, and A'ja outplayed her and the Aces won, and that was sort of the end of any debate, right?
Yep.
So I think
especially because
Nafisa
played so well in that second game, right?
Exactly.
The blowout. And you were like, oh, wait, hold on. Nafisa might have this. And then, those one-on-one matchups tell you a lot.
So I think that's part of it. I think if she can get to 20 points per game, she's currently at 19.4. 20 is just like a nice round number that like screams, MVP.
Sure.
And if 20-5 to me is a good number. If she can get to 20-6, like in terms of assists, like that obviously is a huge pop. But I think if she can stay like 25.5 assists, about 35% from threes, and then has like, those signature wins to help Minnesota to the number 1 seed, like that's a very compelling case.
Yeah, that's interesting. And, I agree with you on all of that. And it's funny because this is going to be the first time in a while that we're talking about an MVP race between a big and a guard, right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like we've always been talking about the Stewie Asia, Brianna Stewart, Stewie Asia, Alyssa Thomas. Like it's just been a lot of fours,
Yep.
a lot of forwards. And so this is it's that one-on-one matchup I just said. It's not going to be in the same way that it's been Stewie versus Asia or Stewie versus Fee or whatever, or Asia versus Fee. It's going to be their individual performances. So that's going to be really interesting. I'm going to throw one more out there because I just want to get your opinion on it.
Yeah.
Paige Bueckers.
Totally. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Shooting incredibly efficiently from the field, about 51%, 41% from three. Super big jump in her three-point percentage from where she was as a rookie. She's top 10 in scoring and assists per game in the league.
Those 20-6 numbers I talked about, Paige has already got that.
There you go, right? She's got that. She's dragging Dallas up. Worst record in the league, playoff contender team. They don't have the best record, so I'm going to put that out, to the side. Right. But they're doing some things. And she might win. I don't know what her clutch numbers are, but she might win clutch player of the year if there was such an award in the W. But what's the argument for Paige Bueckers? What they would need to get their record up for sure for Dallas Wings, but what else would you need to see for Paige to probably edge her way into this conversation as well?
So Paige is in the top 5 that I had listed, of names that I'm considering here. The tricky thing with Paige is just Jessica Shepard has been so valuable to the Dallas Wings.
Yeah.
And so who is more valuable is an interesting question. Like you look at win shares and Jessica Shepard leads the league in win shares for the Dallas Wings, right? And we see her, she's oftentimes the only big that Jose Fernandez trusts on this team. Like she's playing high 30s minutes, in a lot of these big games, doing the playmaking, bringing the ball up, just an enormous impact for the Dallas Wings. And it's hard to separate that for me from what Paige Bueckers is doing. So it's not that I think Paige isn't valuable. It's just who is the most valuable on the Dallas Wings, right? I'm pretty sure it's still Paige, but like there is just some, cannibalizing of, value there because Jessica Shepard has been so good. And I think that's what is like helps make A'ja Wilson's candidacy so strong is that they feed her as the MVP all the time. Like they feature her that way. And there's no doubt of like how much Jackie Young is contributing and how much Chelsea Gray is contributing, but it all comes back to A'ja. And other teams just aren't structured that way, right? Like I look at the Indiana Fever and Aaliyah Boston has been awesome and Kelsey Mitchell has been awesome, but like who do I think has been more valuable between the two of them? I'm not entirely sure. Like I have Kelsey Mitchell on my list, but if you told me that I should have Aaliyah Boston instead of her, I wouldn't really argue it, right? So Paige has the numbers. I think, a couple of marquee wins would help. I mean, they've beaten the Aces, right? So that, helps her in her candidacy against A'ja Wilson. I'm just thinking about the games against the Lynx. They've lost those matchups against Minnesota. So again, like head-to-head matters, especially when you're at the same position. Although AZ guards Olivia Miles would help, one of those performances because when we're talking about guards specifically. But yeah, Paige absolutely on my list. Dallas is just so much better with her on the floor than they are with her off. Same with Kelsey Mitchell, same with, a lot of other players in this league. But yeah, that was my only real hesitation with Paige. Like she's a first team all WNBA player. I don't have any qualms about that. It's just how do I untangle her value from Jessica Shepard's? Because worst to first, a lot of it's Paige's improvement. A lot of it is, hey, we brought in this awesome center in free agency who's really helping.
That's being everything that you need. A hub, a screener, an assister, an offensive rebounder. She's doing literally everything you need. Yeah, I feel very similar to how I evaluate Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston, where it's like, it is hard to evaluate who's more valuable or most valuable on that team. Even in the absence of Caitlin Clark, especially in the absence of Caitlin Clark, like both of them have been so pivotal to what the Indiana Fever are doing whenever they find success. This is going to be an interesting race. I do still think, for the record, A'ja Wilson, yeah. When we think about the MVP with a little apostrophe after the M, yeah.
That's how I type it most of the time.
Las Vegas has done their marketing campaign, but there's also been a product to back it up. Absolutely. But it'll be fun to see what happens in the second half of the season in terms of that race. All right, let's move it on to players who have transformed their game in a way that's changed the trajectory of our team or their team. And I think it's so funny that we talked about Jess Shepard because that's what this award represents, right? It's not just about putting up bigger numbers. It's about doing so or doing something that causes a meaningful leap for your team. And that's why I want to talk about the most improved player. So are we just jumping to Jess Shepard, or do you have somebody else in mind?
I think Jess is a great candidate for this award. One thing I want to say, just like with the parameters of most improved, is they don't like tell you what it means, most improved, right?
Yeah.
And so it could be somebody who just gets a lot more minutes, right? It could be somebody who, like, their role legitimately shifts, right? Like, before you're a number 4 option, and now like a bunch of free agents left your team, and now you're the number 1 option, and like you get a lot more running through you. It could be somebody who's like in the same role and just gets a lot better at it, you know?
Right.
And I'm partial to that last thing because like I really want to see like how you perform within the same constraints and just get better at it. Which is why Jess Shepard's interesting, because she came off the bench in Minnesota and is obviously a more featured participant in Dallas and gets to do everything. But she's also just like awesome at all of it. So it's really hard to deny her that honor as most improved. But where I actually landed was another Notre Dame player, and that's Marina Mabrey.
Talk about it, because that was going to be mine as well. Okay, let's go. Break it down. Okay,
so we did not talk about this ahead of time. I didn't realize we were going to land on
we
the same
did not.
person, but Marina Mabrey.
We did not. I mean, you can make the case for Jess Shepard, right?
Totally.
She's gone from, she was under 10 points, under 10 rebounds. She's averaging over 10 points, over 10 rebounds, double every night, almost 6 assists a night. She's the first player in WNBA history, on track to become the first WNBA player to average 10 or more points, 10 or more rebounds, 5 or more assists. First player in 30 years.
That's wild.
To be on track to average those numbers. Like, that's insane. She's the only player with a triple-double this year, and she has multiple.
Right.
She
had like a 20-20 game. Yeah.
Yeah, a 22, 20, and 10 game, which is insane. It makes sense that she would be a most improved player. And it makes sense that I think she's leading right now from a prediction perspective of becoming the most improved player. But the case must be made for Marina.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I look at Marina, and on Connecticut last season, she's number 1 offensive option. Yeah, Tina Charles is still there, but Marina is the number 1 perimeter creator for like a very young team in Connecticut, right? They've got Snaya Rivers, Leila Lacan, just a bunch of little guards who offense, not their strong suit, right? Marina, a lot is going through her. And it was a tough season, right? She averages 14.4 points, but only shoots 36.7% from the field, 27% on threes. Like, the efficiency lags because she's been tasked with doing so much, right? And then you get to Toronto, and the offensive context is a little bit better, but she's been playing a lot of this time without Brittany Sykes, a lot of this time without Kiki Rice, a lot of this time without frontcourt players who have ever played in the WNBA, right? Like, Isabel Harrison missed so many games. Niara Sabli missed so many games. She's doing a lot with WNBA rookies like Loria Skaite and Maria Conde. And she's just Antiana Key, right? She's just balling, right? 21 points, 45% from the field, 40% on threes. Just to have the same responsibility, arguably a greater responsibility to score and do it that well, I think is just a dramatic improvement. And she's never been this good in her WNBA career, right? I never want to like make it one of those comeback things where they went down and now they're back to their previous performance. Like, no, Marina's just like quantitatively never been this effective, never been this volume productive. So I think that's where I would land right now. And I realize people are always like, well, most improved can't be like, an all-star or whatever. Like, that's disrespectful. I don't think so. I think like making the jump to all-star is like the hardest thing to do. So that's where I would land.
Especially when you are, I love the way that you laid that out in Connecticut, that she was a focal point in Connecticut with less help around her, less, I would say, experienced help around her. And she's still a focal point in Toronto, but it feels even more magnified because of Kiki Rice going down and Brittany Sykes going down. And as you mentioned, the post players, like, I mean, Temi Fagbenle joins this team and gets a concussion or head injury. I mean, she's been in and out of the lineup. Like it's been tough to find some consistency with this team. And she has found consistency in raising her level of play. I don't if you heard that right, y'all, she was shooting 27% from 3 last year. She's at 40. These are crazy percentage jumps, right? 14 points last season to 21.6. Like, these are crazy jumps. So I'm looking at Marina like, girl, good for you. Like, and we haven't even mentioned yet, she dropped 53 points, y'all.
Yeah.
Given it was against the
big one.
Sparks. You know? But 53
nobody
points,
else has scored
like,
53 against the Sparks.
Correct. Exactly. And the defense has been what it's been all season long. Okay. So the fact that she dropped 53 is insane numbers. Okay. Before we get off of this one, there's like a few more. One more at least I want to mention. And I know it's not gonna work because you gotta have, well, it might not. I don't know. Who knows? Let me just throw this out there for you. Shakira Austin. Points, rebounds, assists, blocks, minutes, games, career highs. Right? This is the most that we have ever seen of Shakira Austin in the course of a season. Her offense has been expanded. She's having to do a little bit more. I think one of the things that I have seen with Shakira is a little bit up and down, right? But these are career highs. These are huge. That's a massive thing. And then you think about 2 players on this team, the Washington Mystics, are above the age of 24. Right? Like, it's insane. These are some babies, like young women around her. And she's having to do a lot. Like, any thoughts on like what Shakira, I mean, yes, besides Washington probably needing to win more games, even though good comeback win against the Tempo the other night.
Yeah.
But, you know, what do you make of Shakira Austin's improvement and potential for being in that conversation for most improved?
We'll say I think it's 3 players who are above the age of 24, but that's besides the point. It's still a very, very young team.
It's still a very young player. Okay.
It's still a very young
team.
Fair. Shakira, my only quibble is I thought she was awesome her rookie season. Like, she was so effective finishing, inside. The injuries really took her out of a couple years. And so I kind of think it's her just finding that consistency again that was already there. Like, on those very good teams with Elena Delle and Natasha Cloud and Ariel Atkins, like the ones that were competing for playoff wins. I mean, you make a compelling point about all of her statistical improvements. I do think, like, 3 weeks ago, I would have been a lot more down with the Shakira Austin case. Like, she's been a little bit, up and down. The inconsistency is something that's definitely there. Like, she's not the metronome of this team like a Sonia Citron, like a Kiki Iriafen.
Sure.
Kiki, my God, what a game against Toronto. But that is an interesting name to keep in mind, especially, like, we're only halfway through the year, right? So honestly, I don't care about wins when it comes to most improved because you don't control the team context around you. Like, if you're showing individual improvement, oftentimes that will result in your team being better. But again, it's not your fault if you have 3-point guards who have never played WNBA basketball before and they're the ones tasked with delivering you the ball. Like, good for you, Shakira Austin, for getting to this point.
Okay.
Even with that kind of guard room.
I like that. I like that breakdown. I definitely think the consistency has to get there. But you're right in the way that you set up this whole thing with the different ways that you could be most improved. That aspect of you were good at one point and something happened, whether it was team makeup or injuries or coaching change or whatever the case may be.
Shakira has gone through all of those things.
That's why I'm listening. I was like trying to think of all the things that have happened with Shakira Austin. Like, but getting back to it doesn't necessarily mean you're most improved. You're just getting back to where you were. But if you jump from what we were expecting, maybe it might,
totally
elevate her a little bit. Okay, let's keep it going and talk about some people responsible for putting all of this together. Coaches. Now, when we look at Coach of the Year, I don't know if we're on the same page. We probably are. Let's just be real. But the question is, but see, when you ask this question, I think it could change. But we'll see.
Sure.
Who has
I
done
had
the
my
best
Coach of the Year
job?
in the newsletter. So I would like you to go first here, Zena.
Okay. Yeah. So y'all, if you read the newsletter, well, you know what? I mean, I know. I don't want to say the same thing as you, though. Natalie Nakase is amazing. Let's just be real, right? Like, we're there. We're there. And when you ask the question, like, who has done the best job of maximizing their roster, exceeding expectations, putting their team in the best position to succeed? Yeah. Check. Natalie Nakase. You talk about a team that at one point had the best record in the W this season, at one point, and will continue to teeter with that as they win or lose games. But and this is not just this year. She did this last year too, but being able to be in a playoff position without anyone on her team averaging over 20 points. That's crazy. Like, that's impressive, right? Like, your entire identity is rooted in defense, and you have found a way to win and beat good teams off of your defense. Now, this is going to be interesting because tonight, of the time that we're recording this, the Valkyries do play Indiana. So I'm very curious what that defense is going to look like against the number one offense in the league. But Natalie Nakase, talk about someone that has maximized their roster, that has found a way to, one, bring back the same team for the most part, integrate Kia Stokes and Gabby Williams flawlessly, seamlessly.
Flawlessly, yeah.
Right? And putting this team in a position to succeed, just like unreal. And I love this new phrase they have. If we can't score, they can't score. Like, that's it. That's the premise of what they're trying to do. Yeah. And that's how they're winning games. So it makes a lot of sense. You already broke down the Natalie Nakase angle, and it makes all the sense. But asking that question one more time, who has done the best job maximizing their roster, exceeding expectations, and putting their team in the best position to succeed? We can't ignore our girl, Cheryl Reeve. We can't. Right? Like, come on. She ain't got fee. She didn't have Dorka, even though, of course, we know Dorka is not quite fee in terms of like difference making out on the floor. Sure. No shade to Dorka, but fee is fee. But you don't have your superstar, not just your all-star, your superstar. And your team, for the majority of this first part of the season, was leading the entire W in defensive categories, offensive categories, obviously record. I mean, more than just exceeding expectations, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's not just you don't have fee. You lost your starting small forward in Bridget Carlton to the expansion draft.
Oh my gosh.
You lost the reigning defensive player of the year, Alana Smith.
And Alana Smith.
You lost Jess Shepard. You lost your backup point guard in Natisha Heidemann.
What?
That's a lot of talent out the door.
A lot.
And you brought in players who people did not have expectations that they would perform at this level because, Natasha Howard kind of scapegoated in Indiana, didn't have a great year. Nia Coffey basically fell out of the rotation in Atlanta, right? And then a lot of players who average WNBA fans probably not familiar with, like Antonio Delar, who's coming off the bench for them, like Ola Kosu coming off the bench for them in her second season. Not exactly, someone to write home about during her rookie year in Minnesota. And just really quality production out of everybody. Coach of the Year, like on the WNBA awards ballot, is just a one name thing. You don't get to like submit a top 3 or top 5 or anything like that, which is what it's frustrating because you'd like to reward more people for their performances. I'm just going to say if I had a top 3 right now, it would be Cheryl Reeve number 1, Natalie Nakase number 2, and then Sidney Johnson number 3. Because I am so impressed with the type of development happening in Washington.
Okay,
so impressed.
I like that though.
Yeah,
I see. You know what? I think more
and it's
than
not
anything,
just the videos that the Washington Mystics are posting on social, which are great. I love the locker
which
room
are great.
Antics of Sidney Johnson.
Their social is winning. Yes, agreed. Okay, this is good because I feel like Natalie Nakase, Cheryl Reeve, like when you ask that question, it makes all the sense. Obvious, duh. And one of the things that I struggle with, because I like the Sidney Johnson pick, especially because he's kind of like the way he's like the WNBA's Dawn Staley. Like he's got the playgroup, the daycare, and he has found a way to,
they might even be younger than her daycare kids. Like they're so young.
It's wild. But he has found a way to get all of them to buy in. Like, you look at Cassandra Prosper last night against the Tempo at the time of recording, and Cody McMahon and Kiki Ariafan. Like, they are running through walls, right? Like, they are trying to win game. And like that energy is exactly what you need. I wanted to say Jose Fernandez, but I struggle because some folks might say
he's done a great job.
He's done a great job, I think. And some folks might say, well, duh. He's got
a lot of talent.
He's got a lot of talent. He just got Joe Shepard. He just got Atlanta Smith. Like, you know, I
don't
know why the people that are exactly. He's got AZ Fun. I don't know why the people that are against me have that voice, but alas, that's where they are. They have that voice, but that's also a lot to go around. Remember earlier in the season, he had to make that decision around AZ Fudd and Odyssey Sims, and that was a little tension. Right?
Had to make a decision with Atlanta Smith and Awaka Weir.
And Awaka Weir, exactly. He's had to make some really tough rotational decisions to help this team get better. And it's managing a lot of personalities in that locker room. It's not quite the personalities we imagine when we think of Chicago, but it's a lot of, I'm good and I deserve to be out on the floor and I know I can impact the basketball court in a positive way type of personalities. It's a lot of players that have pride in their game, in Arike Gubawale, in obviously everyone we've just listed, right? And he has found a way to get them to be so good. The other day, Paige Bueckers, after they beat the Tempo, or no, was it the Tempo? I'm thinking the Liberty. After they beat the Liberty, I believe, Paige Bueckers says, we have 2 starting fives. And that resonated with me because I'm like, yeah, I could see that. Like, I can see the way you guys play. There isn't a drop-off. Now, they do love a clutch game. I don't love that about them. They do love to win it last second. But they have found a way to play for each other all throughout the game, where they have that resiliency to come back at the end of games or, you know, and put themselves in bad situations and be able to pull out. And I think that means a lot from a Coach of the Year perspective. So Sidney Johnson, Jose Fernandez, we're not counting you out, fellas. We're not. But right now, the ladies, Coach Reeve, Coach Nakase, y'all winning this right now. Okay, next up, 6th Player of the Year award. You got to help me with this one. Because, Sabreena, I ain't gonna lie to you. Every time I think about the 6th Player of the Year award, I kind of get it a little mixed up with Most Improved. I don't know why. In my mind, I think, as I evaluate, I'm kind of like, well, the 6th Player of the Year is coming in off the bench, and they're automatically impacting things. And that's probably because they've gotten better, right? They've gotten better in some way, some form, some shape, whatever. And that's why I also think that, you know, my pick for this could potentially also be, could be considered a most improved, just because of some statistical categories getting better. But she's not been better than Marina Mabry and Jessica Shepard's jumps. So I want to ask you, with regard to most improved, this was not on your newsletter. What are you thinking?
You mean with regard to 6th player, right?
Damn it! See,
you literally just did it.
I literally just did it. I mixed it up in my mind. I don't know why. Anyways, for a 6th Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Gosh, shame
so
me.
This
all
actually
of you
wasn't
listening.
all that challenging for me. Had Cameron Brink been healthier longer, I think she would have factored pretty heavily into this discussion. Best defensive player on the Sparks, really impactful for that team, but missed a month with that ankle injury. So assuming we're only counting the first half of the season, not really in my consideration, maybe at the end of the year. Sure. So this was honestly pretty clear. It was Janelle Salon.
Okay. We're on the same page there. Yeah. Coming off the bench, shooting.
I don't necessarily just mean to pick like leading scorer among bench players, but she's just also really good.
She has some tough defensive assignments. She's unafraid. Just totally unafraid. And that's exactly what you need in a 6th player. Like, that's the whole point of having someone come off the bench and be able to, you know, put up some significant numbers, but put up significant impact as well. She plays, I mean, she guards 2 through 5.
Yeah.
Right?
She's basically their backup center. Yeah.
Correct. Exactly.
Even though she's like more of like a wing, like 2 guard, the way she runs her offense, honestly.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So I've been impressed by Janelle Salon all year. I think, you know, you mentioned the Cam Brink aspect. I think that's absolutely true with her injury. You know, before Kennedy Carter was out, Kennedy Carter was obviously a front runner and she was absolutely someone that was like, yeah, it is numbers based. Like, they are better and, you know, points better when she's on the floor. And and how she impacts the game coming off the bench. But Janelle Salon, I think, is huge from a defensive and offensive perspective. So I think we might be on the same page there. Anyone else come to mind?
I mean, a lot of the players who would be in this conversation just got promoted into the starting lineup, like Sydney Taylor or Sarah Ashley Barker,
And could you not say most improved? But we can't even say that for Sydney Taylor because she wasn't in the league last year.
I don't really
but still.
like most improved for players who are that young just because AZ Fudd also promoted in the starting lineup,
Yeah.
So
in-season most improved.
Yeah.
That's your sixth player of the year is your in-season most improved. Boom.
But then they're no longer six players. That's the problem.
I know. That's I got to figure that one out. I don't know why I play that game in my mind. Every time I'm like, most improved. I just did it. Anyways, let's keep it moving and get to our fun award. We've handed out all these serious awards. Let's close it out on a lighter note. The WNBA is good for some content, y'all. Always good for some entertaining content, both on the court, but even after the game, in the press room, in the, sideline interviews, in all of the things that have just everything to do with showing the personalities of the players, whether it's a funny, or the coaches, really, whether it's a funny quote, a candid answer, just any moment that takes over social media. There's been a number of these media moments. So, Sabreena, who is taking home your midseason press conference award?
Maybe this is recency bias because it just cracked me up when I heard it over the last week. Dallas has had a lot of these good moments. And I just died at Leah Rue explaining that she does not speak English well enough to understand when trash talk is coming at her in the moment. And it takes her a younger possession to figure it out.
I literally went.
She was so earnest about it. And just, it was a great moment. And then capped off by she's walking out with Paige Bueckers, and Paige goes, "We'll get there." Because Paige, a preeminent trash talker in the W. So
sweet. And Leah Rue and Paige Bueckers are good for a moment. Like,
great friendship. Yeah, one of my favorite WNBA duos.
Yeah. The sweetest. The fact that Leah Rue is like obsessed with Paige is just adorable. And it's reciprocal. Like, it is absolutely equal between the two of them, the love. And it's the innocence of Leah Rue versus, I don't want to say non-innocence, but like
Paige is just so not awkward and so comfortable with everything.
So
like
comfortable
just
with
the coolest person
herself.
in the room.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think so much about her like coach campaign, and it's all like she's talking about like being yourself, whatever. And every time I see that coach commercial, I'm like, they could not have picked a better person to say this. Like, I am a grown woman looking at this young woman like, dang, you're cool. Like, you get it. Like, you have figured it out. So yes, great moment. I love that one. Mine has to be actually from a coach. And we have passed out an award, or potentially an award, to this person already. It's got to be Cheryl Reeve on Pride Night. We should have done it for the gays. We didn't get it done. That's great. It is so funny to me.
And then Gabby Williams, like, picking it up when they went on their Pride Night. Yeah.
Yes, we did it for the gays. And now it's a thing. It's on signs everywhere. Do it for the gays. And there's something about that, especially in the midst of everything that's going on in the world, making the basketball about, we should have done it for the gays. And I just thought that was hilarious.
Beautiful.
It was well done, especially, I think it was on Pride Night during Pride Month. Well timed as well. I would very much love to hear you guys' takes on some of the best media moments and also all of these mid-season awards. So definitely write in. Let us know. Did we miss someone? Did we not think of someone? Remember, it's just the mid-season, so we got a whole second half to think about it. But let us know. On the other side of this, we're going to wrap things up with this week's poll question from our No Offseason newsletter. It's a good one. All right, y'all. Let's close it out. And if you've been doing what I've asked, that means you've been reading the No Offseason newsletter, okay? And there was a fun poll at the end of it asking, which alumni group would you take in a 3-on-3 round-robin tournament? And I just realized, Sabreena, you were the one that posed this, so I guess you should be asking me this. My bad.
Yeah, I should be asking you this.
So sorry.
No, it's fine. We get a lot of great listener questions, great listener feedback, and someone was asking me if I thought that South Carolina had usurped UConn as like the preeminent college feeder into the WNBA. And, I'm just looking at the all-star rosters, and it occurs to me, well, Notre Dame actually has the most players on this roster. Admittedly, Nafisa Collier not healthy this year, probably would change the dynamic a little bit. But yeah, it just made me think. I'm looking at the Notre Dame players on this team, I'm looking at the South Carolina players, the UConn players, and 5-on-5 would be a little bit tricky because South Carolina is like all centers. But
Yeah,
if you were to just do 3-on-3
Aaliyah Boston, Camila Cardoso, Asia at the 3.
and Asia Wilson, do it. Yeah.
Fair. This is a tough one. And you guys like laid it out well. UConn, Paige Bueckers, Stewie, Gabby Williams, AZ Fudd, Azare Stevens, and of course, as you mentioned, if Nafisa Collier was there, I imagine she'd be in there.
If we were just doing healthy Nafisa Collier, Paige, Stewie, and Fee seems kind of unbeatable to me. But she's not healthy right now, so it's a little bit more interesting.
That's real. And then, as you mentioned, South Carolina, we got the 3 bigs: Asia, Aaliyah Boston, Camille Cardoso, Alicia Gray, and Zaya Cook.
Just went by highest scorers. If you want to sub in like a Ty Harris, Raven Johnson, whatever makes more sense for you.
Yeah. I like it. And then Notre Dame, Marina Mabry, Sonia Citron, Kayla McBride, Jackie Young, and Jess Shepard. Now, I ain't gonna lie to you. For me, I already was like, if we're talking about round robin tournament situation, it is going to be hard to win with some bigs. Just bigs, you can't. I mean, that's just hard. That's tough to do. You're going to need some guards that can create.
If you have like Asia, Aaliyah, and Leash, that's a damn good 3.
I agree with that. I'm just curious if it could get stagnant. Where Aaliyah, well, you know what? Asia is shooting 40% from 3.
Asia is Asia.
Let me not. Asia is
I know she doesn't play 3-on-3 like the rest of these folks do, but she could.
No. So I struggle immediately thinking just like only bigs, but now you got me thinking South Carolina again. Okay, let me put that to the side real quick. Then UConn. Yeah. Talk about people that can create. And we've seen Paige, Stewie, and Gabby. Oh, well, no. We've seen Paige and Stewie in 3-on-3. Have we seen Gabby in 3-on-3?
But she's an unrivaled next year. Yeah.
She is unrivaled. That's what I'm thinking. She's unrivaled next year. Okay. We've definitely seen Azare in 3-on-3. But you know what? I feel like Notre Dame might take this. I ain't gonna lie. Marina Mabry.
Shop's going to have 47. To play the entire time.
Right. Marina Mabry dropped 47 in an unrivaled game. Just putting that out there. Okay. So she's a little experienced. I'm also having a little bit
Arike on this list because I only included the top 5 scores,
which is insane, right? Yeah. Wild. We also know how clutch Sonia Citron is, and with 3-on-3, you need that. You need somebody that
Jackie Young, 3-on-3 gold medalist.
Jackie Young, boom. I'm going down the list here, right? We got Mabry, then Citron, and I've got a little bit of recency bias. Kayla McBride just dropped 37 the other night, and we know she was on. They didn't make it to the finals in Unrivaled.
She was on a great Laces team a couple years ago at Unrivaled.
Yeah, the Laces. I was like, the Laces didn't make it, but they were very good.
They were very good
going into the playoffs of Unrivaled. And then Jackie Young's won a gold medal. Jess Shepard can do it all. Jess Shepard is just gonna.
Also, speaking of gold medals, if you want to include Steph Dolson on the UConn list, I would not object to that. It's fine. Whatever you want.
Okay, good screener, outside shooter. Okay, little size.
Again, 3x3 gold medalist is why I, bring her
up. I forgot she was a gold medalist on that team. Yikes, this is tough. I feel, wow. Where did you land on this?
The Paige Stewie combo is just so seamless that like if you put AZ or Gabby in there or even Azare Stevens, I feel like it'd be just really, really hard to beat in this format.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have, a good amount of depth as opposed to like Notre Dame where like if Jess Shepard gets in foul trouble, you're done. Like what's happening?
That's what I'm saying. So the only reason that I would go against Asia and Alicia, because I think that duo
is also awesome.
Yeah. Is also awesome in comparison to like Paige
another 3x3 gold medalist, Alicia Gray. Yeah.
Alicia Gray. And exactly. I knew that one. And I'm like, I just don't know what their depth is like to come in and be able to do more. Like, I don't know if Aaliyah Boston would be able. Well, no, she was really freaking good in Unrivaled. Was she? No, she wasn't MVP. She was in running.
Yeah, she was, I think, Defensive Player of the Year or something. Yeah.
Defensive Player of the Year, yeah. I was like, she won one of the awards. Okay. Y'all, it's been a long year. Okay, let me close this out. I'm being indecisive. I'm going to choose Notre Dame.
All right.
I feel like I'm going to go against both UConn and South Carolina, and I'm going to choose Notre Dame, and I'm just going to go off of them people can put up some shots. They can make some buckets, some clutch ones as well. They're not going to win the height battle. That is going to be interesting, but they just might win the desperation bucket battle. And
It's a thing.
but Paige and Stewie, those some dogs. This is tough. This was tough. Okay, I'm going to close this out. Tell me how wrong I am by choosing Notre Dame. Maybe I'm trying to avoid, the UConn fans and the South Carolina fans coming at me. I remember what it was like at the Final Four. It was a little tense in there. So I'm just going to go right down the middle. Muffet, McGraw, we right here. Okay, girl, we right here. Let me know what you guys think by this. I'm very curious what Annie shows is from this as well. But alas, we'll see. That's going to be it for us today. Annie and Sabreena will return tomorrow with another episode from around the world of women's hoops. And if you haven't already, you could just tell from what we just did in the C Block, y'all. The newsletter is popping. There's a lot of good stuff in there. Not just little polls, but obviously a lot of information covering all of what's going on in women's basketball. And make sure you are following our show wherever you are listening and on YouTube. So on behalf of The Athletic and hoop savant, Sabreena Merchant, I'm Zena Cada, thanking you for listening, and we'll see you next time. No Offseason is hosted by Zena Cada, with Chantel Jennings, Sabreena Merchant, Lasia Clarendon, and Annie Costable. It's produced by Tanika Burrell. Our executive producer is Andrea B. Scott. Monica Compton is our video editor. Our theme music is by Marcus Bagala. Shannon Ryan is managing editor of women's basketball at The Athletic. Be sure to like and subscribe. We drop new episodes every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday.